All right, we got ready. This time and place for the City Commission meeting on Monday, July 24th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Smith.
Here.
Weinreich.
Here.
Bragg.
Here.
Harvey.
Here.
Mayor Harrington.
Here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, is there any changes to our agenda tonight from the commission?
Move to approve the agenda.
Commissioner Smith moves to approve the agenda. Need a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Harvey. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Moving on to public forum. Is there anybody here that has a public forum for tonight from the commission? Okay. Public forum is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and address for the record. Is there anybody here that wants to do public forum tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. The City Commission adjourns to convene as a Board of Adjustment for the following public hearing. I'm going to call on our planner, Barry Cranston, to discuss 4.1 for us.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a public hearing to consider the variance application filed by Crystal Van Overshield on behalf of Huron Accords LLC to install requesting to allow agricultural style or pro-rib metal roofing on their apartment complex, where code states that corrugated metal siding and roofing is typically used, or I'm sorry, this is metal roofing with exposed fasteners and rather than hidden fastener style roofing or architectural style roofing. I believe Crystal Van Overshield is here, so on behalf of the company. Crystal, you want to come up and just give your name and...
Crystal Van Overshield, I work for Meyer Property Management, which is owned by John and Ryan Meyer. We have 6 different properties here in Huron. I guess where do I start? Last year when we had our major, I'll try to make it short and sweet. It's been crazy. Last year when we had the major windstorm that hit our area, we had Granada Courts. We also had Colonial Apartments whose roofs were just completely shattered. Granada Courts wasn't that bad. My maintenance crew went up on the roof, repaired everything so that obviously we have no leaking for ourselves and for our tenants. So it's been a year. We have not had any leaking. The insurance company totaled out our roof. So we took that opportunity to hire a contractor out of West Fargo. Licensed contractor, has done work for the owners for 5 to 6 years. We never had an issue with him. He was hired to do everything. You know, our material list, talk to the city, that he failed to do. You know, the owner has taken full responsibility on, yeah, I should have followed up. And that's kind of what led me here today. The contractor purchased all of our material. The owner then paid him the $30,000 for those materials. The contractor brought him here from Fargo, parked him in our parking lot, and said I'd be back in a couple weeks. And in a couple weeks, we didn't hear from him. We hear from one of our tenants, Crystal, your trailer's gone and so are all the material. After several attempts to contact the contractor with nothing, no response whatsoever, the owner's son Ryan then called from a number that he didn't know, and he says, oh, well, I'm in Florida and I'm not coming back. So then we found out that all of our material is out at Timber Roots, where it still sits to this day. Timber Roots has been great working with me and just kind of storing it for me. At this point, they haven't even charged me for it, so we've been very grateful that they worked with us and held on to it for almost a year now. I spoke with Carl from Heritage Roofing out of Mitchell. said, Carl, can you put on a roof for me? He said, of course I can. So he came down to kind of see what material we have, what we need to order, and where we were going with it. And he says, Crystal, I don't think this is gonna work. It doesn't pass the code. We then hop in the vehicle and come visit Barry and Julie and Chris, and that's kind of what led us here. I do have some photos that I can pass around to everybody. So I just kind of took photos of where our building is located. There is across the road storage units that have the same type of roofing that we are asking to put on. Right to the east of us, there's also a Morton type building that has the same roofing and siding that are non-hidden fasteners. You know, I know one of the issues that, or there's actually was 3 issues that the planning board brought up. First one being it's, you know, a cosmetic preference. I know personally, and you can see in my photos, that I had to come within 10 feet of this property in order to even tell that it had exposed fasteners. Our property is surrounded by trees. Our property sits, so the roof slopes east and west, not north to south. So coming down 21st Street, our roof isn't even visible to anybody driving that way. So I guess we're just basically asking for a little bit of help. Bottom line is a little bit of help. You know, like I said, we have 6 properties in town. We work hand in hand with Chris on a lot of those properties. We also meet all those safety requirements and inspections with HUD. We've never had a negative result. You know, this roofing we're putting on does not hinder our tenants or their surroundings. I know another issue was leaking. We are actually going to leave our shingles on because we don't have an issue with those. And we're putting the metal right over top. So not only we're gonna have 1 roof, we're gonna have 2 roofs. Another concern was possible blow off. Well, I have shingles on my house and I guarantee they blow off just as easy as metal roofing. Us being surrounded by trees, you know, if anything does blow off, our tree line, you know, would catch that. I guess that's about it. I can pass the pictures around if you guys would like to see those, kind of what I'm talking about.
I think they're in our packet.
Are they? Good, okay, good. And I guess if you have any questions for me, I think I kind of got the gist of everything in a fast version.
Thank you, Crystal. The hearing examiner heard this last week, and we as staff, both Chris and I, felt that this didn't meet the threshold for need, and so we recommended denial to the hearing examiner. Ultimately, the hearing examiner on record recommended denial, as this did not fit or meet the threshold for the need that would create a situation where the taxpayer should offset the costs of the landowner. So we just felt that this was just didn't meet the threshold, and they should be required to meet code, as does anybody else who's roofing in a residential neighborhood. Part of the issue here is they're in a residential neighborhood and it's zoned R4 and not commercial. We're across the street, and down to the east, those are commercial grade properties, and so they're allowed to use exposed fasteners. And so that's part of the issue here, is this is a residential neighborhood. Obviously, we've had other residential neighborhoods ask and be denied for the same reasons. So as a matter of precedent, we felt that this is a property that should be required to meet the current code.
Is that, we've debated this since they.
That's my understanding, yes.
Since they created tin roofs.
And I will add one thing. So the metal roofing is going to be black.
Mhm.
The fasteners are black. Our new vents are all black. Even the PVC piping coming out of the building, everything is black. So it's going to be a very sleek finish. It's not, You know, it's not gonna be black with these big silver fasteners that coming out of it, so everything is just streamlined black.
I mean, going back a number of years, we had presentations on this of the seamless steel roofing to extremely thin tin roofing. Is that following some national standard? Or is that just
Well, the
something that
architectural style roofing, what it does is you take a run of the roofing and you drill it into the undersheeting. And then there is like a hook, and then the next sheet goes down and it hides those fasteners,
Yeah.
so you can't see it.
It's basically like a J channel, like you
Yeah,
have
like
on
a
your
J-
siding.
Right.
So
Right.
like if your fasteners are here, this is just gonna latch in. You know, I've done so much research, more than I wanna know about metal roofing,
Yes,
actually.
I'm sure you have.
You know, and there's obviously pros and cons. One thing, they said fasteners loosen. Well, to me, if you have hidden fasteners, I can't see that a fastener is coming loose. If I have exposed fasteners, I know that that's coming loose. My guys can get on that roof in a heartbeat and fix it. You know, and a lot of it is basically, from my understanding, the cosmetic part of it. And, you know, if you're spending all day looking at roofs, you might need a different job.
Well, my question more to the point is that was put into place for building materials traditionally long ago. Have we just kept rinse and repeating that for the last
Well,
10 years?
we have had,
Or has there been research done on,
we have had instances where we've had to litigate, and we've been fortunate in that the city has won their cases. So, you know, there's been a certain precedent that has been set, and I'd be cautious to allow that to go the other direction, because then you're gonna see a lot of different type of sheeting and roofing styles that can be allowed, and then the horse is kind of out of the barn, so to speak.
yeah, and I understand you have to
Yeah.
have standards.
Right.
One of the points that I'm trying to make here is when the decision was made not to have raised nail, was that the consensus of the community, or was that just somebody's recommendation saying?
Well, it was this governing body's decision to do that. It's my understanding that was prior to my being here.
Well, mine too,
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking, so.
It's my understanding they've been before this body on multiple occasions with alternatives, and those alternatives have been denied simply because of the precedent and the concern for safety and aesthetics.
And we did, as Barry stated, we litigated a case about 4 or 5 years ago. A lady had pretty much done what you've done and went out and didn't follow code. And she would not remove it, so we had to take her to court. And the judge ruled she had to take it all off. So there's a precedent set for who don't allow it.
Without a variance.
Without a
I
variance.
do
Okay.
recall.
That's-
And you know, I'm not gonna lie, that thought crossed our mind, ask for forgiveness rather than permission, but that's not who we are as a company, that's not what we stand behind, and that's not our job, is to not follow the rules. So that's why we're here, just, you know, asking for the variance. You know, and I understand, like, if we were dead center in town, you know, if, let's say we're talking Dakota Plaza, which we also own, you know, if it was Dakota Plaza and they had a roof that needed a metal, like, I understand. There's way more risks there, you know, we're wide open. If metal were to fly off Dakota Plaza, who knows what it could do to somebody. You know, where we're located, I mean, at one time was the outskirts of town,
Right.
so.
For the record, to Crystal's point, they are located on 405 21st Street Southeast. So this particular zone is residential zone, but it is off on the outskirts of the community. And the population densities do lighten up down there versus anything in the downtown. So, to her point, you know.
The other part of it in this situation that I'm trying to arm wrestle through is, to your point of across the street of a commercial property that has same roofing that you're looking at. Right next door is same roofing that you're looking at. It's just that they're zoned differently, but yet you're within 100 feet of them.
Yeah, yeah.
That's gonna happen no matter what.
I understand that, Mayor. With respect to the current ordinances that we have in place, Crystal, I'm going to move to deny the request. But that's my motion, and I'll follow up with that.
So we have a motion on the floor to deny the request. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gray. Okay, further discussion on this item?
I just have a couple questions.
Yes, go
So
ahead,
if
Commissioner Weinrich.
if this is denied, what is your guys' next step? Is there any other way you can change it? Has that been discussed, or?
Yeah, so in order for us to return this product, we really can't. We're just gonna have to try to find somebody to buy it. Obviously, $30,000 worth of material, we're not gonna receive probably even a quarter of that.
Have you talked with Menards to see if they would take it?
They
since-
have a huge restocking fee. We're actually waiting to hear back from a corporate office. John personally went in and talked to them this week, or excuse me, the end of last week. You know, so it's gonna be us buying the same exact product almost, getting it all shipped here, and, you know, ultimately, when it's all said and done, it's about a $60,000 ordeal, but.
You know, my thought is, you know, the whole point of a variance is for a situation that, obviously this was unforeseen, you know, you guys didn't create this issue, I can understand that. I know it is your guys' responsibility to check with the current ordinances, but, due to the location, the other buildings all within the same vicinity, has there been any public opinion on this matter?
No,
to
we've
your
not
office?
received any responses.
So the people in the neighborhood, as Commissioner Clute used to say, if they don't have an issue with it, and you guys say talking precedent, but the precedent is here. Every situation is different, and we're gonna look at everyone as their own unique situation. So if you decide one way and this doesn't change where everybody's gonna start doing else, we would litigate that situation. I could be in favor of this because of this specific situation. That's just my opinion.
And I will add too, you know, this product was approved by our insurance company. You know, that's one thing that the owner did follow up on, was, you know, getting the product approved by our insurance company. So as far as there being, you know, an issue of leaking or danger to our tenants or the neighborhood, you know, I just don't see an insurance company going, okay, let's do it. But this product was approved by our insurance company as well.
No, I think it would be clear, just to echo what Commissioner Smith started out with. I mean, I think I would agree with Drew. I feel bad for the situation, and we hate to have anybody have extra expense, and we'd love to make a way to make it work. It's not so much this project that we'd be talking about, it's the precedent that it sets for any future, you know, activities that come up. This will always exist as one that if we have to litigate or if it comes up again, everyone will always hold this one up and say, but you let them do it. So that's more of what I think we're thinking about as opposed to your specific project. So understand, I mean, I think for the most part, we all obviously feel terrible about the situation and would love to make something work. It's more looking at that long-term, what it might cause for issues down the road. You know, Commissioner Smith, if I could ask you to follow, I know we gotta follow procedure properly, but are you, I know when this has come up, and this was before our time, certainly even too, it was before your time, but, are you, we had talked about this once before, about do we need to take a new look, as a lot of new product has come out in past years? Is there a need for us to take a look at this again and see if a hard and fast rule of anything with a fastener is automatically where we wanna hang our hat on it, or if there's some other conditions? Was that kinda what you were alluding to, or am I putting words in your mouth?
No, that's exactly where I was going with it. Is it time to re-review the standards of metal roofing that are acceptable? And because I know there's a part of the population that they don't put the metal roofing on in this fashion because of the ordinances, obviously. But over various times, it's been a less expensive option for them, along with availability, along with ease of attaching it. So, you know, we have, we're kind of 3 to 4 generations into this from when it originated, and I think it's only fair to the citizens that we review it for future situations like this.
This happened about 4 years ago when that lady did the same thing, 4 or 5 years ago. And we have not had an incident since then like it. So it's not like it's the people walking in the door every other day saying, hey, I want to do this. They know, they go by the code. So it's not, we haven't had anybody ask for it in 4 or 5 years, so.
As the building inspector said to the owners, ultimately, it's the owner's responsibility to ensure that they're in compliance with the code. I understand, but it's not the taxpayer's responsibility to bail out every situation where the owner did not follow through with that. Now, I understand that, you hired a reputable person, you thought, and that person created this situation unbeknownst to you. And I can empathize with that, but again, it's not the taxpayer's responsibility to ensure.
So Barry, could you clarify how is the taxpayer bailing out if we were to approve variance? How is the taxpayer?
Well, she's asking that they be allowed to use this material. Typically, it's cheaper. This type of material is cheaper. It's more of an ag style versus the
But
architectural.
it's not, there's no expense.
There's no expense.
I have a problem with the
You're
language used in
okay,
there.
and I
It's not-
apologize. You're probably right.
It's not, the taxpayer is not paying anything.
No,
for
the
that.
taxpayer is not paying.
I mean, if anything, if I.
Correct, you're
I'm-
correct. Let me
It's
restate
ultimately gonna
that.
make our taxes go up because it's
Yeah.
gonna increase our property value significantly, having a metal roof on there.
Is this product any noisier or louder than the residential,
No,
non-hidden fastener stuff?
it will actually have, like I said, our shingles are gonna stay, and it actually has a foam that goes under it as well. So as far as your inside noise, outside noise, it's not gonna affect it in any way.
We've had incidents that we had people tear down their fences that they built because they didn't come in here and get the proper usage of what could be built there. They constructed it all the way up, our plan goes out, looks at us, I said, you can't do it, tear it down. So we've had those type of incidents to our code enforcement.
Well, but she's here before she does that. I mean, Yeah. that's, This and I don't know, variance is what- I understand that an ordinance is an ordinance, but I think we're here looking at that to be an exception for an ordinance, and I don't know, with steel buildings directly next to this building, I mean, I don't want to, I know we have a precedent set, but I also know that we need to be every situation is different, and that's why there's variances.
Mhm.
And that's what we'll end up getting. you know, we'll have people come in and say, wait a minute, you changed it for your, you had a variance of this person, why can't I get a variance for my dog shed? Well, because we have we don't, you can't do that. We have a code to do it. Just don't give variances out just because
Right.
you give variances out.
Right.
This
But they're gonna
isn't,
ask that.
this isn't the first variance that would ever have been ever granted in the state of, in the city
No,
of
but
Huron.
what I'm saying is,
You know
we've
what I mean?
always set the precedent. We took a lady to court over this.
That's because she didn't come here first.
Yeah,
Right.
well,
She came here first.
No, that's not correct. They ordered the material,
yeah.
Right.
and now their new contractor is the one that suggested that it's possibly would not meet code, and that's when you said you might
Sure,
have
and
a problem.
that was
and-
material to her explanation of why she would like it, but ultimately, it doesn't matter whether she owns the material or not. She still has come here to ask for the request before proceeding with construction.
With
So,
construction, that's
to
correct.
Commissioner Weinreich's point, this is not something where they put it on and now they're saying, oh, you can't make us take it down. They are still operating correctly under the variance procedure. You know, the one that I do have experience with this, we had some out, over on the west side of town, and that was a residential neighborhood where we did allow something like this. And the rationale at that time was we allowed it because there were already it was kind of on the edge of town where it was starting to go a little bit more agricultural, and there were other folks out there that had similar roofing. So the justification we used in that case was because there were already properties in that neighborhood that had that type of roof, we did allow a variance for this very thing.
And then ultimately, after that, then we did change the ordinance to allow in certain zones in those outer areas to allow for metal roofing
Right.
on accessory buildings, not on the primary residence.
Right. But a big part of what did come into play with both the variance we approved and then the ultimate change was because there were it seemed unfair to say, there's other folks that have already done this and now this one is not being able to. And there's a busy road in between there, but, to the point, it is still 100 feet away from where this is happening. It is a little bit hard to understand how it's just fine to have all the storage units across the street, but it would be such a huge issue on this side.
That's correct. And like I said, we have not received any public outcry. This is not going to be necessarily some huge issue necessarily, but it does open us up for precedent in the future.
And I did not take a picture of, but I know that the apartments right behind us on 20th Street, I believe it used to be like Fairlane. Their center part that they added does have tin on it. I'm not good with ladders, don't like heights. I did not climb up there to see what type of roofing, but I do know that that is a metal roofing. I just don't know if it is exposed or hidden fasteners on that one. And so that would be directly behind our property, like we literally, there's no fence dividing us or anything like that, but that's directly behind our property.
Any more discussion on this item? Call for a roll call vote then.
Smith,
So just for clarification, so
Yes.
Commissioner Smith's motion was to deny, so this vote would be to deny the variance.
Smith,
Aye.
Rice,
No.
Craig,
No.
Harvey,
No.
Mayor Harrington,
Aye.
yeah, that's the few, it's 3-2.
So I would
Is there a new motion?
make a motion that we approve the variance.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the variance, and I have Commissioner Bragg, and I have a motion, a second on Commissioner Weinrich. Any further discussion on this item? Only thing I'm gonna say is I'm gonna vote against it, because I was here when we did this before, and I don't wanna set a precedent. I'm afraid that we open ourselves up for a whole bunch of litigation on this. I would hope that anybody that's listening to this will come If they're gonna build a fence, if they're gonna put a metal roof on, they come find out before. You know, and the mistake you made was hiring somebody from out of our city that didn't know we had a code like this. And that was not your fault, but that's how it works. So, that's all I got to say. So, roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Nay.
Weinreich,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
No. Okay, pass. Good.
Thank you very, very much for all of your time.
Just for the record, variance takes 2/3 votes. So a simple majority does not carry the vote. You need 4. You need 4 affirmative votes. So I'm sorry, but it did not pass.
That was my mistake. We should have brought that up at the very beginning. Said, hey, this takes 4. Didn't realize that. Okay. Well, it didn't pass. Okay.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. The Board of Adjustment adjourns to reconvene at the City Commission. Moving on to a consent agenda. Matters appearing before the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and be acted upon by the commission at one time without discussion unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. 6.1, minutes of July 17th, City Commission. 6.2, fuel quotes for city departments. 6.3, parade permit for Huron High School Student Council for their annual homecoming parade on September 15th, contingent to approval by the South Dakota Department of Transportation for the use of Dakota Avenue. 6.4, personnel items recommend revisions to the Chief of Police job description. Number 2, recommend revisions to the library catalog job description. 3, promote Glenda Maxted to a from category to assistant library director position. 4, post the Huron Public Library's category position to internally and advertise if necessary. 5, recommend the part-time employment of Benjamin Sharon as a volunteer fireman. 6.5, payment of the bills. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Weinrich, motion approved. Commissioner Harvey was second. So I have a roll call vote on the consent agenda, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Weinreich,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Okay. Bid quotes. Did we get something from Brett on
Yeah, Commissioner Harvey
that?
does it.
Okay, Commissioner, calling on Commissioner Harvey on bid quotes, 7.1, please. Sean?
Looking for a payment request of $303,407.55 for the parking lot job. And where we are at with that is First Rate Excavate has completed most of the concrete demolition, and they've backfilled 1/3 of the parking lot. They are going to finish the on-site crushing hopefully this week, and then start filling in the other 2/3 of that hole next week. They're hoping to have, they say the project is on schedule, hoping to have site finish graded with concrete curb and gutter sidewalk done by this fall. So looking for approval for that bill payment.
A motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Commissioner Smith, motions to approve. Need a second.
Second.
Commissioner Bragg, second. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Weinreich,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Okay. Next up, we're going to have Huron Chamber and Visitors Bureau update. Lori Shelton is here to provide us with all the information we need.
And I always have a lot, but I will try and make it brief. I will give you all, though, if you would like, just everything that I wrote up, that I'm not gonna go over word for word because you would all be here for the next hour and you don't want to do that.
We do appreciate that.
So,
Thanks,
We're
Lauren.
part of that. All right, so, thank you, as always, for the support that you have for the Huron Chamber and Visitors Bureau. We know that without your support, we couldn't do the things that we do, so it is greatly appreciated, and I hope that it isn't just today that I tell you that, but that you know that throughout the year, because it is important, the work that we do, and that we work well with you as our city officials. So, just to start off a little bit, our strategic plan in 2021, we set up a strategic plan based off of our 3 areas of membership, visitor relations, and our community, and we continue to update those on a regular basis and work towards those. One of the big things that we like is to continue to engage our members, our residents, and our visitors. Some of the fun things that have been happening here in Connect has had a good focus on trying to engage new visitors in the community and also our residents. So they have done, Soup Saturday, Beer Madness, Food Truck Wednesdays, which has been a huge hit. The Food Truck Wednesdays, the last Wednesday of the month. So the next one is coming up this next Wednesday, and it's gonna be a fun one. They are partnering with HRMC, and they're doing a dunk-a-dock. So come with some money to contribute towards dunking doctors, and there is a whole list of different doctors that are gonna be up there that you have the ability to try and dunk them. But with these things, there's been bouncy houses, and the food trucks have sold out almost every time that they come. And just fun activities in the park for everybody on that last Wednesday of the month. So that has been a great thing. We continue to try and focus on getting everybody to know what's going on in the community, and it is always surprising that people don't. One of the things that we started last year was Chamber Chat, and we now are getting people who are on a waiting list, or what do we have, so that they want to get their event and be able to come and visit with us, and our views have been continuing to increase with that. Our Prairie Tracks magazine that we put out, we always hope that it gets read by everybody, but it is at least in their hands so that they can see that, and we continue to get good comments about that. Our ringer wants to know the question in there. We get 50-some people who call in to win $20 in Huron bucks, but it means they've read Prairie Tracks, and that is always a good thing. With wanting to make sure our new residents know what's going on, we have worked really closely with HRMC, and we go in and do part of their new hire orientation. And I just love that we get to be part of that. This last week when I went there, they had 5 new employees, and 4 of them were from out of town. So it was, sometimes they're within town, but it's surprising when you're visiting with people within town that they don't know where they can get all the information. So we would love to have other businesses that would like to do that as well, if they have some kind of a process, or just invite us in to share more information about what we do at the chamber and where they can find that information. One of the things that we continue with is we have a retail committee and a food and restaurant committee as well, trying to work with those retailers, those businesses, on how we can continue to promote their businesses. Also working with the city and Greater Huron on beautification of the city, and just getting that information out as far as what are those ordinances regarding your weeds, and what you can do with your properties and not, and just to make sure that everybody maybe takes a little bit of pride. We want people to be really proud of where they live, and I think being on that task force, we're working towards that, but we hope that everybody shares that. It's not just that it's a weed growing, it's like, how does that look? We want people to love where they live, and when visitors come in, we don't want it to look tired and not well kept. We want people to come in and want to live here and be part of our community. So I have appreciated being part of that group that we get together and try and meet and figure out where we can go with that. Leadership Huron is a big part of the Chamber and Visitors Bureau. We are looking at changing our Leadership Huron program this next year, starting it in December. and running it through July. And we've got a little bit different format, but wanting it to start at a different time of year. First of all, we're hugely busy those first couple months of the fall. And I think that it allows us a little bit more time to be very diligent and do a good job of setting up with our new leadership here in group each year. So be looking for more information on that. We do have applications out there that are already set up, but we are changing that leadership here in program. And we always appreciate the support from the city, being able to tour the city entities, and also to have Mayor Harrington come and speak, have our group be able to sit in and listen to the state of the city. So those dates will change too, of when we host State of the City, State of the County, and State of the Schools. So we're continuing to work out the minute details there. We're trying to focus on some education throughout the community, so partnering with Better Culture, who is an organization out of Omaha, and they have some really good information out there to help with the businesses and promoting your business, keeping your employees. I guess that's a lot of the gist of it is, what you can do with your workforce. They have a Caffeine and Cultures webinar that they do on a bi-monthly basis, and you'll see e-blasts that are coming out from them. And we are also hosting Effective Leadership for First Line Managers and Supervisors on October 17th. This is a Bill Drury seminar, so that is coming out there. So we're continuing to try and educate. We want people to want to stay where they work, and we want employers to have the tools they need to keep their employees, and it's kind of what these two entities represent. So part of our strategic plan was to continue to grow our membership. Last year when I reported, we had 404 members. We now have 431, so that is awesome. That's a 7% increase. Gave some statistics. We've done 24 ribbon cuttings in 2022. We have 12 so far that we've done this year. Prairie Tracks goes out to 16,066 households, plus we keep and send a couple hundred those that get put out throughout the community as well. Our chamber mixers continue to be strong in my capacity. I always want them to have more people there, but they have been growing very well. And when I talk to my counterparts in other communities there and people who have gone to other ones, they always think ours are very well attended, and we will continue to do that. We did offer a noon mixer format. We had one last year at Norby Center for Recreation, and we are having one in September with Amazon, and it's being hosted at the Huron Senior Center. So that will be a noon one as well. Conventions and events service. So far in 2023, we have 16 that we have provided bags and name tags and all of the stuff that we do as a visitors bureau for them to come in. We hosted 26 conventions and events in 2026. Website stats, I gave you those. Couple of the highlights or lowlights. Our Huron SD website was down 28%, but we split websites with the city. So the city has HuronSD.org or .gov, sorry, and ours is HuronSD.com. So that is where you can see the major change in that. Next year, I'll be able to give a better comparison from year to year. But I think everything is going well between the two websites. It's just that when I look at my stats, they were down. It's like, oh, well, there would be a good reason for that. Our top pages, though, are our Living in Huron, events, our Chamber of Commerce, visiting Huron and moving to Huron, and then contact us. Our Hunt Huron SD website was up 9.46%, so we've had more visitors that come for that. The Splash Central Water Park, of course, I'm working up my stuff, and I'm sometimes working at the last minute for things, and realized I couldn't pull those stats myself. That thankfully, Chad, I appreciate you, Chad, for getting me updated stats at the last minute today. So it did look like our stats were up a little bit as far as views to the Splash Central Water Park website. So there was 8,118 views from May 1st to July 17th, which compared to 8,009 last year, so things are about the same there. I did notice as I was sitting back here that my stats for sales tax, most of the sales tax dollars have increased with except for lodging. Lodging was up a lot last year. This year it's down 7%. So we were at about 44%. Well, when I say 44%, when I looked at the occupancy rate, it was at 44% versus the 48 that it had been. So those are down just a little bit, but last year was a really good year for our lodging taxes. Also, first and second penny sales tax is up. Don't look at the number that I gave you because I did not update it. I thought I had all those numbers down. But 2022 is up over 2021 and 2023 is up. I think it's 2% as of the end of June maybe that we were up. So I apologize for that. Remote sales tax, I did start tracking that, which I kind of like because, you know, we do get the sales tax when people shop online. So as of June, we had collected $391,626 for remote sales tax. And that compares to $407,669 last year. But it is nice to be able to continue to track that and to make sure we're getting those sales tax. So I think that's very important. I mentioned the hotel occupancy. So we just hope, you know, the rest of the year, we've got fair coming up, we've got some good events coming up. So hopefully that brings those numbers up. Marketing dollars, I think this is always a good number. Last year, we spent $174,334 marketing Huron. 2021, we spent $167,223. So far this year, it's $60,384, but we are on target to exceed the 174. Just don't have the bills in for all of that. Places that we're advertising, we're working with Midco Advertising for some TV ads, and you'll have seen some that we're already running. We've done some regional ads with South Dakota Magazine and 605 Magazine that are aimed at attracting the people not only just to come for events in Huron, but to move to Huron. I have information about our Splash Central Water Park budget, which we do work with that. That's that $25,000 annual marketing budget that we are provided through the city funds to be able to market. And it does look like our Google ads are outperforming where they had been, and the total impressions are up for the Google ads, and I had got a report the Google ads in 2022. I don't have anything updated for 2023 on our Google ads, but they are the ones that when you're on your phone, you probably all know that they'll just maybe pop up randomly, and they have been getting some good market views out there, which is good. We continue to advertise the Splash for Cash concessions, middle school moonlights, family fun night posts. We also did join the Missouri River Tourism Region, as they don't have a water park yet, and that seems to be one of the better areas that when people are coming in, that's where a lot of them are coming from, because they don't have a water park over central South Dakota over there. So we'll see where those numbers come out at the end of this year. South Dakota Barbecue Championship, we got $20,000 in marketing monies from Bid Board again this year. We did market both the barbecue and wheel jam. Our actual numbers for tastings at barbecue were down just a little bit this year. Really, it all comes down to weather. Weather really plays a huge factor in it, and it was really hot, and that's what I'm attributing it to. But I think that for the most part, that marketing, whether we did TV advertising, the digital marketing, we had a good amount of teams that came in. We actually were close to being at our high, which was 47, and at the last we had 4 teams that ended up dropping out at the end for various reasons, and usually it's health or work or family or whatever. But we do appreciate those funds to be able to use to market it. I think we market Wheel Jam more maybe than the tastings next year. That was my take on things, because we can bring people in for that even if they're there for a day. We focused on both this year, but it was predominantly like coming to the barbecue side of it, and I think we can switch that around next year. Our Hunt Huron SD and Ringneck Nation marketing, Our budget for 2023 is $67,400. We had $30,000 that was coming from the Business Improvement District for that, and the others from grant funds and from our own budget. So something new we're gonna do this year, working on all the details, is we're gonna do a banded bird release right before pheasant opener. On the day before pheasant opener, have 100 banded birds. People can bring in those bands when they've shot that bird for a chance to win $60,000 in towards a new vehicle, and Iverson Auto is the sponsor for that. So it will be a fun promotion that we're working out all the little details for that, but I think something like that helps bring people in, whether it's, you know, outside of the state hunters, which is what we get the majority of, or people within the state coming to hunt in our area. Ringneck Festival, you know, we're on our 26th year of that. It's just kind of crazy, but the dates are November 2nd through 4th, and we're looking at promoting the Bird Dog Challenge a lot more this year because those numbers had been down in the past. But so far for our 6-man competitive teams, we've had 5 teams committed so far. The deadline is August 31st. I will tell you, everybody comes in at the last minute. But of those 5 new teams, 2 of them are brand new, which is awesome. Last year we had 4 new teams at this time and 1 was brand new. So these 2 new teams, I can't think of their names, but you know, that's always the fun part too, is they have really creative names when it comes to their hunting teams on there, just like barbecue teams do as well. So I talked about where we advertise. Scott Linden with Wing Shooting USA, Ron Shera, Rooster Tails. I hope that you're seeing those when you're out there. If you watch the sports hunting channels, Iowa Sportsman, Midwest Outdoors, Quail and Pheasants Forever, and this is the 3rd year we've had an ad in the Minnesota Twins yearbook. Community guides, we hand out a lot of community guides. Last year, 9,200 of them were distributed. We ordered 9,600 for us to distribute, plus the newspaper puts them in all the newspapers that they send out as well. So I don't have the total number, I guess, I just know how many we received. So visitor bags, we continue to hand those out. They are down a little bit this year. Our visitor request relocation packets are down just a little bit this year, and trying to figure out what's happening so that we can see if we need to increase them, or maybe people don't want paper anymore, you know, which I get that too. So vacation guides, we continue to advertise in the South Dakota tourism guide, along with Southeast South Dakota, Glacial Lakes, and Missouri river tourism. We have added Southeast South Dakota tourism to ours, and we have an ad in their tourism sportsman edition. That is something new that we hadn't put in there before. So we did apply also for a marketing grant through South Dakota Tourism. So it's called the Destination Marketing Grant, and we will be receiving $30,750 each year to help promote tourism in Huron. And I had to provide them a plan for that, which I did. This year we used some for our hunting marketing plans. The gist of some of that in the coming up next year will be on the decks and how we can promote that, and I have funds going for that this year as well. And if we deviate from that, I just have to send to them, because it was really hard to put together a 4-year plan to know how you want to spend that money every year. But hunting brings in a lot, along with we want to make sure we're getting the decks built, so how we can do that. Did put a note in here about the world's largest pheasant. I know that's something that we need to be visiting about as a city. We were in a non-performance with the builder, wasn't providing what for our new pheasant that we were going to build, wasn't providing any updates to us, and we have filed felony charges against him, and the state of Nebraska is doing that as a group because there are others that he has done something similar to with who also filed complaints. So, anyway, with that being said, we need to make a plan to move forward, and that is something that we need to be visiting about a little bit more. My final thing on there is that last year we spent over $152,500 of the monies that we bring in, and we purchase that much locally throughout for businesses and supporting our local businesses. So we promote shopping local and supporting local, and we do that as much as we can at the chamber. So I like that number when I total it all up. Again, if you have questions, I'm available. I left you with a bunch of stuff, but always know that you can call or text or email or whatever it is that you want, and we are always open for that. So,
Any questions for Lori? Seeing none, thank you, Lori, appreciate written stuff too, by the way.
You're welcome.
Shoot. Okay, moving on, we're gonna go to 8.2, and our financial director, Paula Carey, is gonna talk about 8.2.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a quick agreement on tip number 7 that we approved earlier this year. This is an agreement with the bank that the city will pay directly to the bank instead of going through the developer or the sub-developers. So 85% will go directly to the bank, 15% will go to the developer. So we've done this in the past, and I recommend approval.
Okay, need a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Mr. Weiners moved to approve, need a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion from Pauline on this? Yes, Commissioner Gray.
Just a quick point, because I know the very first TIFs we did were different, but as all the recent TIFs have been, the point 3 does highlight that the city assumes no liability for payment or indebtedness owed. So, although we're passing through the payment, the city doesn't have any risk with this one.
Good point, thanks, Rich. Any other discussion on this item? Need a roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Weinreich,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Okay, moving on to 8.3, we'll call on Barry Cranston again to discuss 8.3 for us.
Thank you, Mayor. This 8.3 is to consider a home occupation permit request filed by Matthew Roberts to operate a taxidermy business at 617 Michigan Avenue Southwest. We have another business like this, similar to this. If you want to come up, please, and just talk briefly about your project.
I'm Matt Roberts, and I am just getting started into the taxidermy deal. I want to get started into the taxidermy deal. I'm supposed to be leaving Sunday for school, so I'm hoping that you guys approve it. There will be nothing outside of the garage. Everything will be inside. I have freezers that everything will be kept in. Anything dead will be disposed of immediately, so.
Yeah, for the record, the hearing examiner, as well as Chris Newman, our building official, and myself, we all recommended approval for this project with the stipulation that there be no outside storage. Yeah.
I move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bragg, second by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion at all from Mr. Roberts on this? Seeing none, thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have a motion? Okay.
Smith,
Aye.
Weinreich,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, 9.1, we're gonna have Ted Hayter, who's here, to come up and speak to us on 9.1. Because he's right in the middle of this right now.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for having me. Ted Hayter with Greater Huron. Resolution in front of you is to allow us to apply for Housing Infrastructure Funding Program dollars through the South Dakota Housing Development Authority for a new cul-de-sac that was also part of TIF number 7 to be constructed at Broadwood Creek. Our initial estimated cost is $670,000 to build this, of which housing infrastructure funds would be roughly 1/3. Our engineer, we used IMEG Engineering for the initial cost estimate, is looking things over to make sure things haven't inflated too much, and they will sign off on an affidavit that costs are reasonable. Not holding them to the cost, but making sure that they're reasonable and an engineer's estimate is proper. So once we have that, that'll be the final piece of the puzzle after the resolution. We'll submit the application tomorrow, and we expect to hear on a yes or no in September, whether or not we get funding.
Need a motion?
Move to approve the resolution.
Okay, Commissioner Smith moves to approve the resolution. Need a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion for Ted on this topic?
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes, Commissioner.
Ted, can you clarify the difference that I know with the land that the city purchased down adjacent to Southtown, the Cummins Edition, there was talk of applying, this particular resolution is just for the cul-de-sac property, is that correct?
That is correct. This resolution is just for that new cul-de-sac proposed at Broadman Creek. It would require some further discussion with the city on the Cummins Edition as far as financing other than South Dakota Housing Development Authority money. The TIF creation allows us to provide our matching funds and then some of Greater Huron funds as well. Wouldn't be anything out of the city's budget for the Broadman Creek cul-de-sac.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yes.
Any other discussion for Ted on this? Thanks, Ted, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weimer.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. That will do it for tonight. Thank you for being here.